Hi everybody, and welcome to Movie Recaps with Brit. Today we will be taking a look at a movie titled Knock. Without further ado, let's get started. During the 1950s in Marcella, a man called Knock is running away from Lansky and his friend. They catch Knock and give him a few kicks. Lansky tells Knock that he shouldn't bet money if he can't pay, and he wants his money back within a day. Knock has no money, so he tries to figure out how to solve the problem. He ends up at the harbor where a captain of a cruise ship needs a doctor for a 6-month voyage to India. Knock doesn't have the right qualifications, except for his time in the army. But since the ship is getting ready to leave, the captain is really desperate. So the captain agrees that Knock can pretend to be a doctor. Knock reads medical books he finds in the doctor's office to learn as much as he can. When a sick mechanic is brought in, he tells Knock he has typhus and describes the treatments he's seen others use in the past. Knock acts like he's testing the mechanic, but he's actually making the mechanic repeat the treatments while he writes them down. Then Knock tells the mechanic to do those same treatments. Later, Knock takes a walk on the ship's deck and spots a lady who has spent too much time in the sun. Her face is very red from the sunburn. Knock suggests that her skin might have a problem and then goes to the kitchen. There, he gets some whale fat and creates a fake ointment. He gives the ointment to the lady and pretends it's a special ointment from the Orient that Cleopatra once used. A few days pass, and the redness on the lady's face goes away naturally because it was just a bad sunburn. However, she believes it's because of the ointment and is willing to pay a lot for more. Knock manages to sell her 3 bottles at a high price. Later on, he also checks on the mechanic, who is also doing better. The captain finds it funny how successful Knock is and asks him about his plans after the trip. Knock says he wants to go to medical school. 5 years later, Knock arrives in the small village of Saint-Maurice, where he's going to take over Dr. Parpalade's medical practice. Dr. Parpalade is retiring and wants to leave his practice in good hands. Knock accidentally calls the patients clientele, but assures Dr. Parpalade that he studied to become a doctor. The next day, Knock pays the mailman to spread the word around town. He's offering free consultations to everyone in Saint-Maurice on Tuesday morning. Then, he visits the local pharmacy to meet Mr. Mousquet, whose business is struggling. Knock uses his likable personality to make a deal. They'll make people believe they're sicker than they actually are, and then they'll share the profits. While the mailman spreads the announcement throughout the town, rumors about Knock start to circulate. He's more stylish than what they're used to, and being different makes him intriguing. However, Priest Lupus suspects that a doctor offering free consultations might be up to something. A few hours later, the mailman comes to Knock for his payment and is approached by Adele, who asks him to deliver a letter. This event sparks Knock's interest in Adele. Later, he gives the mailman a free consultation, using his charm to make him believe that his stress has hidden causes they will address. In the afternoon, Knock goes to the local school to talk to Bernard, the headmaster, and scolds him for not having health classes. He provides materials for teaching the kids about hygiene, including some posters with gritty pictures that might seem a bit scary to the children. These posters are also in Knock's office. So when Tuesday arrives, everyone waiting there feels quite uneasy. Knock's first patient is Lecoq, who works for Adele. Lecoq is feeling fine and only came for the free consultation. When Knock notices Lecoq yawning, he quickly checks her health and advises her to follow a diet and rest for a few days before deciding on any treatment. Just then, Lupus arrives at the office and criticizes everyone for being so eager to visit the doctor's office when they aren't usually so enthusiastic about attending Mass. After Lecoq leaves, Lupus cuts in line and goes to see Knock. He plans to confront Knock about something, but Knock takes control of the conversation. He tells Lupus that he has conjunctivitis and gives him a prescription before sending him away. When Lecoq gets back home, she instructs Adele to tidy up her room and get another mattress. She wants nothing to disturb her rest. However, when Adele coughs, Lecoq doesn't seem as concerned about her health and tells her to keep quiet. Then, Knock goes to check on the mailman. He's doing much better, even though he realizes he'll have to pay for this second visit. The people in the town are really pleased with Knock's work and are amazed by his personality. Men think he's sophisticated and clever, while women find him charming and good-looking. Lupus can't hide his jealousy. Knock becomes so popular that Elizabeth comes to visit him. She gives him a basket of goodies she baked herself and invites him to a dinner party hosted by the mayor. She tries to flirt with him. Later in the evening, Knock attends the dinner party, and there's a competition between the wealthy widow Pons and Elizabeth to see who can flirt with the doctor more. During the party, Knock takes the opportunity to invite everyone to a lecture he'll be giving at the school the following day. In the morning, the classroom is full of kids and grown-ups who are listening to Knock talk about different kinds of illnesses that can be found everywhere. He asks Didier to come to the front to demonstrate how to spot signs of problems in the mouth. Luckily, Didier's mouth is healthy, and Knock praises him for taking good care of his hygiene, which gets him applause from everyone. After the lecture, Pons speaks highly of Knock, but this makes Lupus quite upset. He reminds Pons that Knock is still suspicious, and he asks her to help him dig into Knock's past and find out more about him. One day, Adele greets Knock and mentions that Lecoq has been feeling weak lately. She says Lecoq has been staying in bed and following a diet, even though she doesn't really need to. However, Adele doesn't criticize Knock for tricking her boss. Instead, she calls him clever. Knock notices that Adele coughs a lot and tells her to come to his office sometime. He promises not to charge her for the visit. Later, Knock goes to Lecoq's room and suggests an expensive treatment, but she refuses to pay for it. Lecoq tries to prove she's fine by exercising, but that only makes her feel worse. Eventually, she gives in and agrees to pay whatever amount Knock asks for. A few days pass, and Knock has a meeting with Mousquet, like they do every month. The pharmacy is doing really well now, and Mousquet is impressed with how much money he's making. He's a bit hesitant when Knock talks about the possibility of doubling their profits, but Knock uses his charm once more and gives him a speech about how they're like the protectors of the town's health. Later, Pons comes to visit Knock. She convinces him to see her 4 times a week to check on her health. She might be trying to flirt, but Knock goes along with it because it means more money for him. Pons also tries to ask him questions about his past, but Knock only gives vague answers before sending her away. His next patient is Elizabeth, who is really determined to outdo Pons. She takes off her coat to show Knock that she's not wearing any clothes underneath. However, Knock rejects her advances and asks her to go away. During the town's yearly party, Knock notices that Adele is arguing with her fiancé and storms out of the building angrily. Unbeknownst to Adele, a stranger named Lansky sneaks into the building through a window. Turns out, Lansky has been traveling as a wanderer. Lupus discovers Lansky stealing food and tries to call for help. However, Lansky grabs him by the neck and threatens him, forcing Lupus to let him stay in the church for a few days. Returning to Knock's story, he drives his car down the road to offer a ride to Adele, who is feeling lonely. He scolds her for not wearing gloves and a scarf to keep warm, but he apologizes quickly when she tells him she's not in the mood to be scolded. As they ride together, they talk and connect. Adele opens up and shares that she's broken up with her fiancé. She also claims to be the only one in town who understands why Knock is different. The following day, Adele visits Knock to seek his help with Lecoq's dog, Tom. Adele can't take Tom to the vet because Lecoq only pays for the animals that make her money, like the cows and sheep. Fortunately, Knock finds that Tom has only dislocated his shoulder, and he's able to put it back in place quickly. After helping Tom, Knock admits he felt envious of Adele's fiancé in the past. Adele responds by inviting him to dance right there, matching the rhythm of the chirping birds. Sometime later, Lansky spots Knock in the town and recognizes him, becoming curious about the situation. Knock has come to pick up Mousquet for a new project at the local hotel, and Lansky observes it all. Lansky tells Lupus that he will stay in the town for another week. He then searches for Knock to ask for money. Initially, Knock isn't afraid and pays Lansky double the money he owes him. However, Lansky isn't satisfied and starts to blackmail Knock. He asks for a large sum of money in exchange for not revealing a secret he knows about Knock. Adele doesn't arrive for her planned meeting with Knock, so he goes to Lecoq's house. Lecoq asks him for a new prescription before admitting that Adele has been sick in bed for 4 days. When Knock asks why he wasn't informed, Lecoq says she didn't see a reason to because she was feeling better herself. Worried, Knock hurries to Adele's place to check on her. He becomes concerned upon seeing her condition and decides to send her to the city hospital for further tests. Before she leaves, he gives her a gift, a scarf and gloves. Unfortunately, a few days later, Knock receives the test results and they deliver distressing news. Adele has tuberculosis. Knock calls a friend who works at a special clinic to ask for help with treating Adele's illness. He promises to pay for the treatment and asks his friend to keep it a secret from Adele. Later, Knock goes to a bar, and everyone becomes quiet when Lupus starts saying that more people are sick now than before. The bartender apologizes and explains that Lupus is just jealous of his success and popularity. Knock isn't bothered by this. Afterwards, Knock takes Adele to the bus station and they say goodbye. Elizabeth sees them kissing and feels jealous, so she goes to the church to confess her feelings. She tells Lupus an exaggerated story of what she saw and how sad it made her. She also lies about a day she visited the doctor without clothes and pretends that Knock took advantage of the situation. Lansky notices that Lupus is really interested in hearing negative things about Knock. After Elizabeth leaves, Lansky offers to share some information about Knock's past with Lupus in exchange for money. The following day, Knock goes to the hotel, which is being turned into the village's first clinic. He discovers that Lansky is there and has rented one of the last available rooms. Lansky looks tidied up and is carrying a weapon. Knock gives him the money he asked for, but Lansky takes it and then asks for even more money, this time an even crazier amount. Meanwhile, Lupus visits the mayor to inform him that Knock manipulated Elizabeth and influenced Adele to leave their hometown. However, the mayor isn't fooled because he already knows Adele was sent to a medical facility. He also mentions that Elizabeth often undresses in front of people, even the mayor himself. A few days later, Knock receives a letter from Adela, who is content in the medical facility and grateful to have met him. That night, Lansky comes to collect payment from Knock. Knock assures Lansky that he will get the money from the bank the following day. As a sign of agreement, Knock offers Lansky a toast with whiskey. But Lansky doesn't realize that the doctor has tampered with the drink. The following day, Lansky experiences a really bad case of diarrhea that causes a mess in the hotel by dirtying the floors and walls. Knock checks on him and acts like Lansky is very sick. He tells Lansky he'll help if Lansky returns his money and writes a letter admitting his past crimes. Several weeks later, Parpelade returns to the village to see how things are going. He's surprised to find the new clinic finished and doesn't understand why it was built. When he visits Knock, he's even more shocked to learn that Knock has 600 medical appointments each month. Parpelade criticizes the questionable ethics of this approach, which prompts Knock to start talking about how medicine is becoming accessible to regular people. This annoys Parpelade so much that he leaves. Knock goes to see Adele. She kindly tells him that they're actually quite similar because they both grew up poor. Sadly, a few days later, Knock gets some really sad news. Adele has passed away. He's filled with sadness and wrecks his office in his grief. During Adele's funeral, Lupus says that Adele's death happened because she trusted the wrong people and mentions Knock's past as a gambler and thief. This makes Knock really angry. He admits that he did some bad things in the past to survive, but he worked really hard to become a doctor when he had the opportunity. Knock gets mad at Lupus for bringing this up during the funeral and leaves. The townspeople are on Knock's side and criticize Lupus for talking about these things during such a serious event. At the same time, Didier follows Knock to his house and sees him packing his things. The boy goes back to the church and tells everyone that Knock is leaving forever. Shockingly, everyone agrees that it doesn't matter if Knock isn't a real doctor or if he has done bad things before. He has improved their lives. Ignoring Lupus's requests, everyone hurries out to the streets to gather around Knock's car and ask him to stay. Lecoq even shares that she received a letter from Adele in which she expressed her wish for Knock to have Tom, which means Knock should stay to honor her memory. Even a man who used to stutter fluently asks him to stay. Knock cries and promises the Adele he remembers in his heart that he will stay in their town permanently. Thank you for watching our movie recap. While it may seem simple, it actually took a lot of hard work and dedication to produce. If you enjoyed the video, we kindly ask you to like and subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you will stay updated on our latest content and help us create more in-depth analysis and critiques of the movies you love. Thank you again for your support.